The Great Hall of the Galactic Confederation stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal. Representatives from 2,000 different worlds sat in perfect circles around the center platform. Their minds touched each other through the psychic network that connected all civilized beings. It was a beautiful harmony of thought and purpose that had kept peace in the galaxy for over 50,000 years. High Chancellor Vex High of the Vorthic Empire stood at the center platform. His crystalline body caught the light from 7 different suns and threw it back in patterns of authority. When he spoke, his words reached every mind in the hall at the same time. "We have discovered another species," he announced. The psychic network buzzed with interest. New species were always exciting. Most were welcomed into the Confederation after proper education and uplift procedures. "They call themselves humans," Vex High continued. "They come from a small world they call Earth in Sector 7749, Alpha. Our scouts have been watching them for 6 of their months." Ambassador Zhen of the Ethereal Collective floated forward. Her gaseous form shimmered with curiosity. "What is their classification level, High Chancellor?" Vex High's light patterns shifted to show displeasure. "Category 5, primitive and dangerous." A wave of shock went through the hall. Category 5 was the worst rating possible. These ratings were given to species that were too violent or unstable to join galactic society. In the history of the Confederation, only 12 species had ever received this classification. "Surely you must be mistaken," said Elder Than from the Peaceful Minds Council. His ancient brain form pulsed with disbelief. "We have not encountered a Category 5 species in over 8,000 years. What makes these humans so dangerous?" Vex High activated the display system. Holographic images filled the air above the platform. The assembled representatives watched as scenes of human history played out before them. They saw humans fighting with crude metal weapons, cities burning under primitive bombs, millions dying in wars over resources and ideas. They watched as humans destroyed their own environment and fought wars that killed entire generations. "They have no psychic abilities," Vex High explained. "Their minds are completely closed to telepathic contact. They cannot join the mental networks that bind civilized society together. They think only as individuals, never as a unified whole." The images changed to show human technology. Crude rockets that burn chemical fuel. Weapons that threw metal projectiles using explosive powder. Computers made from silicon instead of living crystal. "Their technology is primitive, but advancing rapidly," Vex High continued. "In just 100 of their years, they went from simple flying machines to traveling in space. This rate of advancement is unprecedented and concerning." Ambassador Liren of the Healer Worlds raised her tendril arm. "Perhaps they simply need guidance. Many species start with violence, but learn peace when shown a better way." "We tried peaceful contact," Vex High replied. The images changed again to show a Confederation scout ship approaching a human space station. They immediately began scanning our vessel with military sensors. They tried to communicate using primitive radio waves and assumed we were hostile when we did not respond in the same manner. The next image showed human space fighters surrounding the scout ship. The sleek alien vessel was forced to retreat when the humans began locking targeting systems onto it. "They view everything unknown as a potential threat," Vex High explained. "Their first reaction to contact with superior technology is not wonder or desire to learn. It is suspicion and preparation for war." Elder Morph of the Ancient Sciences leaned forward. His rock-like form ground against itself as he moved. "Show us more of their current status." New images appeared. Human cities that covered entire continents. Factories that produced goods at incredible speed. Military forces with weapons that could destroy cities in minutes. "They have developed nuclear weapons," Vex High announced. This caused another wave of shock through the assembly. Nuclear technology was banned by the Confederation. Only the most primitive and dangerous species ever developed such crude destruction devices. But that is not the worst part, Vexai continued. They actually used these weapons against their own species. Twice. The silence that followed was complete. No civilized being could understand using such terrible weapons against members of their own species. Ambassador Quinn of the Logic Worlds spoke carefully. How many of them exist? 8 billion individuals on their home world alone. They are also beginning to establish colonies on nearby planets. Their expansion rate is accelerating. The numbers caused fear to ripple through the psychic network. 8 billion individuals with no mental connection to each other, no way to ensure peace through shared consciousness. It was a nightmare scenario that challenged everything the Confederation understood about civilization. What are our options? Asked High Speaker Nim of the Trade Federation. Vexai's crystalline form pulsed with authority. The Science Council has identified 3 possibilities. First, we could attempt uplift procedures. Introduce them slowly to galactic society and help them develop psychic abilities through genetic modification. Risk assessment? Asked Elder Than. Extremely high. Their minds show resistance to psychic influence. Attempts at mental contact have failed completely. They appear to be naturally immune to telepathic control. This means we could never be certain they would follow Confederation law. Second option? Prompted Ambassador Jin. Complete isolation. We establish a quarantine zone around their solar system. No contact allowed until they either destroy themselves or evolve beyond their violent nature. And if they continue expanding? Asked Morph. We maintain the quarantine by force. Any ships attempting to leave their territory would be turned back or destroyed. The representatives considered this option. It had been used before with dangerous species. Most eventually destroyed themselves through warfare or environmental collapse. Only a few had ever managed to overcome their violent nature while in isolation. The third option? Asked High Speaker NYM. Though his mental tone suggested he already feared the answer, Vexai's light patterns shifted to deep red. Preemptive containment. We end the threat before it can spread. The words hung in the psychic network like poison. The Confederation had not authorized the destruction of an entire species in over 20,000 years. It was considered the ultimate failure of civilization. They cannot join us, Vexai continued. They cannot be controlled. They cannot be trusted. They advance too quickly and fight too readily. If we allow them to spread throughout the galaxy, they will contaminate other species with their violence. Elder Than pulsed with concern. Surely such extreme measures are not yet necessary. Perhaps longer observation? Observation teams report that they are developing faster than light travel capability. Within 50 of their years, they may be able to reach other star systems. We cannot allow violent, uncontrolled beings to spread throughout civilized space. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued for uplift attempts. Others supported isolation. But as the evidence of human violence and rapid advancement accumulated, more and more minds turned toward the final option. When the vote was called, the decision was overwhelming. The human threat would be contained by any means necessary. As the assembly ended, Vexai felt satisfaction pulse through his crystalline form. The galaxy would remain safe and civilized. The primitive, violent species called humanity would learn their place in the cosmic order. He had no way of knowing that he had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Captain Sarah Chun stared at the viewscreen as another human cargo ship exploded in silent flame. The debris scattered across space like metal snow, carrying with it 300 tons of medical supplies. And the hoax of the Mars colonies. That makes 12 ships this month, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez from his station on the bridge of the exploration vessel Endeavor. The alien blockade is getting worse. Any response to our distress calls? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Nothing. Same message every time we try to contact them. Return to your designated system. Further expansion attempts will result in defensive action. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes. 6 months had passed since first contact with the Galactic Confederation. 6 months of blocked communications, destroyed ships, and growing fear on Earth. The aliens had made their position clear. Humanity was not welcome among the stars. At first, the blockade had been polite. Alien ships would intercept human vessels at the edge of the solar system and escort them back home. No violence, just firm redirection. The human governments had tried to negotiate. They sent diplomats with peaceful intentions and offers of trade. The aliens had ignored every attempt at communication. Then the blockade became aggressive. Human ships that tried to leave the solar system were disabled by some kind of energy weapon that shut down their power systems. The crews were left floating in dead ships until rescue vessels could reach them. When humans tried to establish a research station on Proxima Centauri, they woke up one morning to find it gone. Not destroyed or damaged. Simply gone, as if it had never existed. The 300 scientists and engineers working there were never found. "Captain," called Ensign Park from the communication station. "I'm getting something different." It's not the usual warning. Sarah moved to stand behind Park's chair. "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a crystalline being. Its body caught the light and threw it back in patterns that hurt to look at. When it spoke, the words seemed to come from inside their heads rather than through the speakers. "Attention, primitive species. You are in violation of Galactic Confederation space. Return to your home system immediately." "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earthship Endeavor," Sarah replied. "We are on a peaceful mission to establish communication between our species. We wish to discuss terms for—" "There are no terms," the alien interrupted. "You have been classified as a dangerous species. Return to your designated system or face consequences." "Dangerous? We haven't attacked anyone. We just want to trade and learn from other civilizations." The alien's light patterns shifted to what might have been amusement. "Your species has a documented history of violence spanning thousands of years. Your technology advances without wisdom. Your minds cannot be touched by civilized thought. You are a contamination that must be contained." Sarah felt anger building in her chest. "We have the right to explore space. These systems don't belong to you. Rights are granted by civilization to civilized beings. You qualify as neither. This is your final warning." The communication cut off. A moment later, the Endeavor's power systems began to fail. Emergency lights kicked in as the main power died. The ship began drifting, helpless. "They hit us with that weapon," Rodriguez reported. "Same as the others. Power core is completely dead." Sarah looked out at the stars that humanity had dreamed of reaching for centuries. Now those stars were forbidden. The aliens had decided that humans were not worthy of the galaxy. The rescue ship that eventually found the Endeavor brought news from Earth. The blockade was complete. No human vessel could leave the solar system. Worse, the aliens had begun actively destroying anything that looked like expansion attempts. The asteroid mining station at Ceres had been vaporized. The research base on Europa was gone. Even the lunar colonies were being threatened. The aliens had sent a clear message. Humanity would stay on Earth, or humanity would die. The final insult came 3 months later. Admiral Martinez stood in the United Nations Emergency Session Hall, his face grim with terrible news. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmed contact with what appears to be the leadership of this Galactic Confederation. They have sent us an ultimatum." The room fell silent. Representatives from every nation on Earth waited for the words that would decide their species' future. Martinez activated the holographic display. The image of High Chancellor Vex High appeared above the podium. His crystalline form pulsed with cold authority as his translated words filled the hall. Species designation: human. You have been judged unfit for galactic citizenship. Your violent nature and mental deficiency make you a threat to civilized space. You will accept the following terms immediately. The terms were simple and devastating. All human space technology would be surrendered to the aliens. Earth's population would be reduced to sustainable levels through forced relocation to designated worlds under alien control. Human reproduction would be limited by alien oversight. Any attempt at technological advancement would be prevented. You have 72 of your time units to respond, Vexai continued. Failure to comply will result in corrective action to ensure galactic security. The United Nations erupted in angry voices. Some called for surrender. Others demanded resistance. But before any decision could be made, the choice was taken away from them. Vexai appeared again on every screen and communication device on Earth. This time, his message was shorter. Your response time has been noted as evidence of your inability to make civilized decisions. Corrective action will now be implemented to encourage proper compliance. The attack came without warning. Beams of energy descended from space with surgical precision. They struck major population centers across the globe simultaneously. The weapons seemed designed to kill people while leaving buildings and infrastructure intact. New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, Lagos, Sao Paulo. In the space of 6 hours, 28 major cities were hit. The energy beams swept across population centers like the hand of an angry god. People simply stopped existing. No explosion, no fire, no destruction. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone. When the beams finally stopped, 2.8 billion human beings were dead. The second message came 8 hours later. Vexai's image appeared again, but this time his light pattern showed something that might have been satisfaction. The demonstration is complete. Your species has been reduced to manageable numbers. Surrender your technology immediately and await transportation to designated reservation worlds. Any further resistance will result in complete extinction. In the ruins of civilization, the surviving leaders of Earth gathered in underground bunkers. The debate raged for days. Some argued for surrender. They had seen what the aliens could do. Resistance seemed hopeless, but others looked at the empty cities and counted the dead, children, and felt something different stirring in their hearts. Something old and terrible and human. President Williams stood before the emergency council, her face carved from stone by grief and rage. They call us primitive. They call us violent. They murder our children to teach us our place. She paused, looking around the room at the faces of the survivors. Maybe they're right about what we are. Maybe we are violent. Maybe we are primitive. But they made one mistake when they decided to judge us. What's that? Asked Director Jiang, his voice hollow with loss. President Williams' smile was sharp enough to cut diamond. They assume that being primitive means being weak. They're about to learn the difference. The room fell silent. In that silence, humanity made its choice. The aliens had wanted to teach Earth's children their place in the cosmic order. Soon, very soon, humanity would return the favor. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. Hidden deep beneath the surface of the moon, Facility 7 had been built in the 6 months following the massacre. The complex stretched for kilometers through solid rock, powered by fusion reactors that gave off no detectable signature. "Show me the analysis again," Elena said to her assistant, Dr. James Wright. Around them, the most brilliant minds from Earth worked at stations that hummed with barely contained purpose. James activated the holographic display. The image of an alien energy weapon rotated slowly in the air between them. "We've been studying the debris from the destroyed ships for 4 months now. The pattern is consistent across all samples." Elena studied the weapon's internal structure. 6 months ago, it would have seemed like magic. Now she understood it completely. Their technology is based entirely on energy manipulation and psychic amplification. No kinetic components at all. That's what makes it so efficient, James agreed. They can channel energy directly through focused thought. Their psychic abilities let them control matter at the quantum level. It's incredibly advanced. And incredibly vulnerable? Elena smiled grimly. They've specialized so completely in energy-based systems that they've forgotten the basics. She touched a control, and the display changed to show the readings from their recent tests. Watch what happens when we fire a simple tungsten rod at their shield technology. The hologram showed a metal projectile striking an alien energy barrier. The shield, designed to deflect energy weapons, simply let the physical object pass right through. They can't stop kinetic weapons, James breathed, though he had seen the test dozens of times. Their shields are worthless against physical projectiles. It gets better, Elena said. She changed the display again. Remember how they disabled our ships? That energy pulse that shut down our power systems? Of course. It's how they've been controlling human expansion. It only works on systems that use their type of energy manipulation. Our primitive electronics are completely immune. James stared at the data. You mean our crude technology is actually an advantage? More than that. It's a weapon they can't defend against because they don't understand it. Elena's voice carried the weight of months of hidden research. They've been so focused on psychic technology that they've never encountered a species that developed along a purely physical path. She moved to another station where Dr. Sarah Kim was working on what looked like a standard computer terminal. Show him the communication breakthrough, Sarah. Sarah looked up from her work. Her eyes were red with exhaustion, but her smile was fierce. We cracked their network protocols 3 weeks ago. Want to know the beautiful part? Tell me, James said. Their entire communication system is based on psychic resonance. They send thoughts through space using quantum entanglement tied to their mental patterns. It's instant, undetectable by normal means, and reaches across the entire galaxy. That sounds like a problem for us, James pointed out. Sarah's smile grew wider. It would be, except for one tiny detail. The system assumes all users have psychic abilities. There are no security protocols for non-psychic access. Elena leaned forward. Explain it in simple terms. Imagine a door that only opens when you think the right thought at it. They never bothered to put a lock on the door because they assumed only telepaths could find it. Sarah gestured to her terminal. Our computers can access their entire communication network. We can read every message, track every ship, monitor every military installation. James sat down heavily. The implications were staggering. We can spy on their entire civilization? Better than that, said Dr. Reginald Hayes from across the lab. The elderly physicist had been working on something that made the air around his station crackle with contained energy. Show them the real breakthrough, Elena. Elena led them to Hayes' station. The device on his workbench looked like a simple metal box connected to several thick cables. What am I looking at? James asked. Hayes chuckled. The end of alien technological superiority. Elena, would you do the honors? Elena picked up a piece of alien technology they had recovered from a destroyed ship. It was some kind of scanner device, its crystalline surface still glowing with internal energy. She placed it near Hayes' device and activated a switch. The alien scanner immediately went dark. Its glow faded and it fell silent. You shut it down? James asked. Better, Hayes replied. I made it forget how to work. Their technology relies on quantum coherence patterns maintained by psychic energy. This device generates what I call a static field. It doesn't destroy their technology. It just makes it impossible for psychic energy to maintain coherence. Elena picked up the now-dead alien device. In simple terms, it turns their advanced technology into expensive paperweights. James looked around the lab with new eyes. Every station, every project, every tired scientist suddenly took on new meaning. How long have we been preparing? Since the day they killed our children, Elena replied. President Williams authorized 12 facilities like this one, each working on different aspects of the problem. She led him to a wall display showing the global situation. Facility 3 in the Arctic has been developing new manufacturing techniques. We can now build ships and weapons faster than any alien civilization, because we use automated factories instead of handcrafting. Everything with psychic abilities. The display changed to show underground complexes on Earth. Facility 9 has been working on military applications. Turns out that nuclear weapons are far more effective against energy-based defenses than the aliens ever imagined. What about space capability? James asked. We're still trapped in our solar system. Elena's smile turned predatory. Not for much longer. Facility 12 has been reverse engineering their faster-than-light technology. We can't copy their psychic-based systems, but we found another way. She activated a new display showing a ship design unlike anything humanity had ever built. Brute force approach. Instead of elegant energy manipulation, we use controlled nuclear explosions. Instead of psychic navigation, we use quantum computers. It's crude, violent, and exactly what they don't expect. When? James asked simply. Soon, Elena replied. We've been in contact with other facilities through quantum encrypted communications. The production lines are ready. The weapons are tested. The ships are built. Dr. Kim looked up from her station. Elena, we're getting reports from the monitoring stations. The aliens are celebrating. Celebrating what? The anniversary of what they call the pacification of Earth. They're congratulating themselves on successfully containing the human threat. Sarah's voice dripped with disgust. They think we've been broken. Elena walked to the main display and activated the global communication system that connected all 12 facilities. Faces appeared on the screen from around the world. Scientists, military leaders, engineers, and planners. All of them carrying the same expression of cold determination. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena began. Our alien friends think they have taught us our place. They believe that by murdering our families and threatening our world, they have made us afraid. She paused, looking at each face on the screen. They were wrong. They didn't make us afraid. They made us angry. And now they're going to learn why that was a mistake. General Morrison appeared on the screen from Facility 4. His weathered face showed grim satisfaction. All military units are ready, Doctor. We have enough firepower to sterilize a dozen star systems. Dr. Yamamoto from Facility 8 nodded. Industrial capacity is at maximum. We can replace our losses faster than they can count them. Elena looked around her laboratory one final time. In 6 months, humanity had done something the aliens thought impossible. They had turned their primitive nature into their greatest weapon. Then it's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth's children, Elena said quietly. Above them, hidden in the asteroid belt, the first human warships began powering up their drives. They were crewed by alien standards. No elegant energy systems or psychic controls. Just metal and nuclear fire and human rage. The aliens had wanted to teach humanity about civilization. Humanity was about to return the lesson. High Chancellor Vex High was reviewing reports of successful human containment when the first ship disappeared. The merchant vessel Prosperity's Dawn had been traveling the main trade route between Vorthik Prime and the Ethereal Collective. It carried routine cargo and 3,000 passengers. The ship was equipped with the most advanced sensors in the galaxy and protected by military-grade shields. One moment, it was there. The next moment, it was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. No debris, no distress signal, no energy signature. The ship and everyone on it simply vanished from existence as if they had never been. Investigation status? Veshai asked Admiral Kethmer, his chief military advisor. Unknown, High Chancellor. We found no trace of an attack. No weapon signatures. No evidence of any hostile action. The ship's last transmission was routine cargo manifest data. Vashai's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Natural phenomena? Gravitational anomaly? Negative. The route has been used safely for over 15,000 years. Our science vessels detected no unusual readings in the area. 3 days later, 2 more ships disappeared. Then 5. Within a week, the main trade routes that connected. The Galactic Confederation began to empty as merchants refused to risk the journey. The pattern became clear when Captain Zelhai of the military cruiser, Righteous Purpose, sent the final transmission before his ship vanished. Unknown contact approaching at impossible speed. No energy signature detected. Attempting communication. A pause. Contact is not responding to telepathic hails. Switching to primitive radio frequencies. Another pause, this one longer. They're jamming our communications somehow. All psychic links are being blocked. Unknown weapon charging. It appears to be some kind of the transmission cut off. The ship was never seen again. Admiral Kethmer stood before the emergency council, his mental projections dark with fear. We have lost 47 vessels in the past month, all on major trade routes. All disappeared without trace. Elder Than's ancient mind pulsed with confusion. How is this possible? We have the most advanced military in galactic history. That may be the problem, Kethmer replied grimly. Our technology cannot detect the attackers. They appear to be using some form of stealth system that renders them invisible to psychic scanning. High Speaker Nim of the Trade Federation projected urgent concern. The economic impact is becoming severe. Trade between systems has dropped by 60%. Some colonies are reporting shortages of essential supplies. Deploy more military patrols, ordered Vexai. Escort all civilian traffic until we identify the threat. The escort strategy lasted exactly 4 days. The military convoy protecting a supply run to the Hilo worlds consisted of 12 of the Confederation's most powerful warships. When they reached the designated coordinates, they found something waiting for them. Admiral Dex Ran of the escort fleet sent his final report through the emergency psychic network before his ships were destroyed. We have encountered the attackers. They appear to be using primitive human vessels, but modified with unknown technology. Their ships are crude metal constructions powered by nuclear fusion. They should not be capable of faster-than-light travel. A pause filled with combat noise. They're ignoring our energy weapons completely. Our plasma cannons pass right through their shields. They're using kinetic projectiles, actual physical ammunition. Our shields cannot stop them. How is this possible? The sound of explosions echoed through the psychic link. They've disabled the flagship with some kind of electromagnetic pulse. All our systems are failing. They're not trying to capture us. They're not taking prisoners. The transmission ended as 12 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were destroyed by crude human technology that shouldn't have been able to hurt them. The terror began in earnest when the humans revealed their true strategy. They weren't just attacking ships. They were systematically destroying the infrastructure that held galactic civilization together. Relay stations that had maintained communication networks for millennia simply vanished overnight. Power generation facilities that provided energy to entire star systems went dark without warning. The elegant transportation systems that moved people and goods between worlds became graveyards of twisted metal. Ambassador Liran of the Hilo worlds sent desperate messages from her home system. They struck our primary medical facility without warning. Millions will die without the treatments produced there. But they didn't just destroy it. They contaminated the entire planet with some kind of radiation that prevents psychic healing abilities from functioning. The reports flooded in from across Confederation space. The humans had somehow learned to target not just military assets, but the foundation of civilization itself. They struck power grids, communication networks, food production centers, and transportation hubs. But the most terrifying discovery came when the Science Council analyzed the attack patterns. Dr. Veltar, the Confederation's chief researcher, presented his findings to the emergency assembly. The human attackers are not random. They have somehow gained access to our strategic databases. They know the location of every critical facility in Confederation space. They know which targets will cause maximum disruption with minimum effort. The assembly reacted with shock and disbelief. Impossible, projected Elder Morph. Our databases are protected by psychic encryption. No non-telepathic species could access them. Nevertheless, the evidence is clear. They are targeting facilities in precise order to create cascading failures throughout our infrastructure. This level of strategic knowledge could only come from inside our own networks. As if summoned by their fear, the humans chose that moment to reveal themselves fully. Every communication system in Confederation space suddenly activated simultaneously. A voice speaking in crude auditory language filled every channel. Attention, Galactic Confederation. This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet. You murdered 2.8 billion of our people. You declared war on humanity. Now you will learn the consequences of that decision. The voice was calm, almost conversational. That somehow made it more terrifying than any scream of rage would have been. You called us primitive. You called us violent. You were right on both counts. We are primitive enough to use weapons you forgot how to defend against. We are violent enough to use them without mercy. Systems throughout Confederation space began reporting massive energy signatures. The humans weren't hiding anymore. You have 48 hours to begin evacuation of all Confederation military personnel from human space. Any vessel found in our territory after that time will be destroyed. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. High Chancellor Vex High managed to override the human broadcast. This is absurd. You are one primitive species against an alliance of 2,000 advanced civilizations. Surrender now, and we may show mercy. The human response came with terrifying laughter. Mercy? Like the mercy you showed our children? No, High Chancellor. We have a different plan. The display screens around the assembly hall suddenly activated. They showed images from across Confederation space. Human ships crewed. Ugly vessels that looked like flying weapons platforms emerging from hidden positions throughout the galaxy. We've been preparing for this war for 18 months, Admiral Chung continued. While you thought we were cowering on our homeworld, we were studying your weaknesses. While you celebrated your victory, we were building the tools of your destruction. The images showed human ships approaching Confederation worlds. But these weren't random attacks. The humans had chosen their targets with surgical precision. You depend on energy-based technology. We use kinetic weapons. You rely on psychic communication. We use quantum encryption. You build with elegant efficiency. We build with redundant brutality. Explosions began lighting up systems across the galaxy. Not the clean energy discharges of advanced weapons, but the raw nuclear fire that humanity had mastered centuries ago. You wanted to teach us our place in your cosmic order. Admiral Chun's voice continued as Confederation infrastructure died around them. Allow us to return the lesson. The final horror came when the humans deployed their ultimate weapon. Dimensional tiers began opening near major Confederation worlds. Through these rifts came forces that made nuclear weapons look like toys. Entire planets simply disappeared, not destroyed or conquered. Erased from existence, fed to hungry parallel realities that consumed matter and energy alike. The assembly hall erupted in panic as reports flooded in. 30 systems gone in the first hour. 50 systems in the second hour. The humans were unmaking the galaxy itself. This is impossible. Vex High projected desperately. No species has this kind of power. Admiral Chun's voice returned one final time. You're right. No civilized species would have this power. Fortunately for us, we're exactly as primitive and violent as you said we were. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, ancient civilizations that had ruled for millennia began the greatest retreat in galactic history. The humans had kept their promise. They were returning the lesson about cosmic order. The galaxy was learning to fear. 3 years had passed since the humans began their retaliation. The war was over, but not because anyone had won or lost. The war was over because there was no longer anyone left to fight. Professor Zixandra of the Eternal Archive floated through the empty corridors of what had once been the greatest library in the galaxy. Her gaseous form shimmered with the weight of accumulated knowledge from 1,000 dead civilizations. She was possibly the last scholar still attempting to record what had happened to galactic society. The archives were mostly empty now. Species after species had stopped contributing to the great collection of knowledge, not because they had been conquered or destroyed, but because they had simply stopped. They had withdrawn to their home systems, destroyed their own faster-than-light communication equipment, and chosen silence over the risk of attracting human attention. Zixandra accessed the final entry in the Vorthic Imperial records. High Chancellor Veshhai had recorded it himself just before ordering the evacuation of the Vorthak homeworld. Personal log. Final entry. The humans have not approached our system, but we cannot remain. The psychological impact of their campaign has broken our civilization's will to continue. We are fleeing to the galactic rim, beyond the reach of their terrible weapons. Let this record serve as a warning to any who might find it in the future. Never again provoke the species called humanity. The entry was 18 months old. The Vorthic Empire, rulers of half the galaxy for over 50,000 years, had backed up their entire civilization and vanished into the dark spaces between stars. They were not alone in their flight. Zixandra moved to another archive, terminal, and accessed the partial records that remained. The story was the same everywhere she looked. The ethereal collective had disbanded after the humans demonstrated their ability to poison psychic energy itself, making their gaseous forms unable to maintain coherence. The surviving members had hidden themselves in deep space, each one isolated and alone. The healer worlds had evacuated their populations after human weapons proved capable of creating permanent damage that could not be repaired even by their most advanced medicine. They left behind empty planets that would take millennia to recover from human contamination. The Trade Federation had collapsed when the humans systematically destroyed every commercial vessel that dared to leave port. The economic networks that had connected the galaxy for thousands of years had simply stopped functioning. But it was the fate of the Ancient Sciences Council that truly demonstrated the completeness of humanity's victory. These beings had existed for millions of years, accumulating knowledge and wisdom beyond measure. When the humans came for them, they did not fight. They did not flee. They chose extinction. Dr. Eternal Thought, the last member of the council, had left a final message before activating their civilization's ultimate self-destruct protocol. We have observed the rise and fall of countless species across galactic history. We have seen war, conquest, genocide, and rebirth. But we have never seen anything like the humans. They do not conquer territory. They do not seek resources. They do not desire submission. They simply eliminate. They are not a civilization. They are a force of nature. We choose non-existence rather than live in a universe where such beings walk among the stars. An entire species, millions of years old, had chosen to delete itself rather than share the galaxy with humanity. Zixandra accessed the communication networks that had once carried messages between trillions of beings across thousands of systems. The networks were technically still functional, but they carried only silence. No one dared send signals that might reveal their location to human monitoring systems. The few messages that did exist were warnings, passed secretly between the survivors. Stay silent. They are still out there. The humans monitor all frequencies. Maintain communication blackout. We tried to make contact with the Peaceful Minds Alliance. They are gone. The entire system is empty. We are fleeing to the edge galaxies. Zixandra's research had revealed the terrible truth about humanity's campaign. The humans had not been trying to conquer the galaxy. They had been teaching it a lesson about the consequences of threatening Earth. The lesson had been simple. If you attack humanity's children, humanity will make sure you never feel safe again. And they had succeeded perfectly. The humans had not needed to destroy every enemy fleet or occupy every world. They had done something far more effective. They had made the entire galaxy afraid to make noise. Every species that remained had drawn the same conclusion. The safest way to deal with humanity was to pretend to not exist, to stay quiet, to hide in the dark spaces between stars and hope that the terrible things from Earth would never notice them. Zixandra moved to the final archive, the one that contained the most recent intelligence reports about humanity itself. What she found, there was perhaps the most terrifying thing of all. The humans had stopped their attacks after only 3 years of war. They had returned to their home system and appeared to be rebuilding their own civilization. They were not expanding. They were not conquering. They were not even patrolling the space they had cleared of alien presence. They were just waiting. The intelligence reports suggested that humanity had achieved exactly what they wanted. They had made the galaxy too afraid to threaten Earth again. Now they were content to develop their own society in peace, surrounded by a buffer zone of empty space that no other species dared to enter. But the reports also noted something else. The human ships that occasionally ventured beyond their territory were not exploration vessels or trade ships. They were monitoring platforms, watching, listening, making sure the lesson had been learned. Any signal that suggested a civilization was recovering. Its confidence would result in immediate and total elimination. The humans had made it clear that the new galactic order was permanent. Zixandra began to record her final entry in the archive. It might be the last academic work ever completed, but future archaeologists would need to understand what had happened to galactic civilization. The humans did not conquer us, she recorded. They did something worse. They made us conquer ourselves. Every species still alive made the same choice. Rather than risk another encounter with human retaliation, we chose to destroy our own interstellar capabilities. She paused, considering the implications of what she was saying. The galaxy contains millions of inhabited worlds and thousands of spacefaring species. But functionally, it might as well be empty. No one travels between stars anymore. No one sends messages. No one trades or explores or builds alliances. We've all retreated to our home systems and chosen isolation. Zixandra looked around the empty archive one final time. The humans have achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They have created peace through fear. Not the peace of victory, but the peace of terror. We are afraid to make war because we are afraid they will notice us. She activated the archive's final protocol. The collected knowledge of galactic civilization would be sealed and hidden, waiting for some distant future when it might be safe to remember what the galaxy had once been. As Zixandra prepared to leave the archive and join the exodus to the galactic rim, she composed one final message. It was addressed to no one in particular, transmitted on the ancient emergency frequencies that connected the deepest monitoring stations throughout known space. To any who might find this record in the distant future, we were the Galactic Confederation. We ruled among the stars for 50,000 years. We thought ourselves the apex of civilization and wisdom. We encountered a species we judged primitive and violent, and we acted to contain them. The message continued as Zixandra's form began to fade, a gaseous body dispersing in preparation for the long journey to the edge of known space. We were right about them being primitive. We were right about them being violent, but we were wrong about what those qualities meant. We thought they made humans weak. Instead, they made humans something we had never encountered before, absolutely without mercy when threatened. The final transmission ended with words that would echo through the empty spaces of a galaxy that had learned to fear. The humans sent us a message written in the ashes of our civilizations. Touch Earth's children, and we will make sure your grandchildren's grandchildren wake up screaming our name. The message was received. The galaxy is silent now. They are still watching. They are still waiting. And we are still afraid. Somewhere in the dark between stars, the remnants of 1,000 civilizations drifted in self-imposed exile. Behind them, at the center of the galaxy, a small blue-green world continued to orbit its yellow star. The humans had kept their promise. Earth's children were safe. The universe had learned to leave them alone. In the deepest archives of the few remaining monitoring stations, automated systems continued their endless vigil, watching for any sign that the galaxy's civilizations were forgetting the lesson humanity had taught them, because the humans had made one thing perfectly clear. The lesson was permanent. The silence was forever, and anyone who broke that silence would discover that Earth's children still remembered how to make the universe afraid. The galaxy had fallen silent not from death, but from wisdom. The wisdom of knowing when to leave a sleeping giant undisturbed.